Kia ora, good evening. The seaside town of Bluff could be downgraded of police services, prompting an online petition to prevent the relocation of Bluff's police officers. A proposal from the Invercargill Police outlines a change to the number of staff stationed at Bluff from 3 to a sole charge community constable. Southern Area Commander Inspector Lane Todd says the proposal is based on information police has around crime levels in Bluff and to policing priorities. Concerned resident Waimea Glassy says losing any of the officers would mean residents having to wait for the only constable on duty, who would only work from 9 till 5 and would most likely have a heavy workload. Glassy said she was concerned about the amount of crime in Bluff of late, despite Inspector Todd saying the town's experiencing a continued decrease over the past 3 years. If the realignment goes ahead, the new structure will be implemented by the end of March. Invercargill Police are asking the public for help to solve 2 burglaries in the city overnight. Waverley Motors in Ward Street was broken into somewhere between 8 p.m. and 7:30 this morning. The burglars gained entry through a window at the front of the building and a quantity of money was taken from the business till. Newfield School in Wilford Street was also broken into overnight. It appears the burglars searched offices and made an unsuccessful attempt to break into a safe. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. Export rose 0.9% to $12 billion in the December quarter, with meat and edible offal leading the rise.
Statistics New Zealand says meat export values and quantities are hitting new highs on the back of higher beef prices. Combined with increases in other exports, particularly logs, total exports rose despite a fall in dairy products. Seasonally adjusted milk, powder, butter and cheese exports fell 9% or $328 million over the quarter. Imports showed little change, down 0.2% to $13 billion. The seasonally adjusted trade balance for the December quarter was a deficit of $9.4 million, equivalent to 7.4% of exports.
The Reserve Bank of New Zealand's decision for the official cash rate will see rates held at 3.5%. RBNZ said any future movements on rates will depend on emerging economic data, but rates are expected to stay on hold for some time. The New Zealand dollar dropped to a fresh 3-year low of 73.26 US cents shortly after the announcement. Brewers Yeasty Boys ran a very successful crowdfunding campaign yesterday, raising $500,000 in less than 1 hour online. The boutique beer brand is manufactured at Invercargill Brewery, and the funds will provide a welcome boost to the business.
It's been great watching them grow, and they've enabled us to make a whole pile of different beers that we wouldn't otherwise have made, and won awards with those in all kinds of different markets. So, for example, their Pot Kettle Black, which was the first beer that we made for them, took out the Top Beer in Asia award in 2012, and that's possibly the biggest award that any New Zealand beer has ever won. So it's really exciting that we actually made that.
What will this $500,000 investment enable them to do?
What they're looking at doing is expanding into the UK market, because craft beer isn't a New Zealand phenomenon, it's actually a worldwide phenomenon, but it's one that New Zealand's doing really, really well at. New Zealand is, as in everything else, punching way above its weight in craft beer. We've got some amazing hops been growing in New Zealand that give a completely different profile, and there's international interest in those. So last year Yeasty Boys went to the UK and made 500 litres of Gunnamatta, I think it was, which won the People's Choice Award at the Great Australian Beer the previous year, and that really gave them a taste for what the UK market's appetite is for these funky beers coming from this part of the world. But obviously to make it here and ship it there is expensive, and it's not what we believe in. We do believe in brewing locally.
How much beer are Yeasty Boys exporting at the moment?
I know we've sent beer for Yeasty Boys all around the world. A lot goes to Asia, a lot goes to Australia, some has gone into the UK. We sent a combined beer shipment last year to Asia, and all of it sold on the water. So it had all been pre-sold before it even landed. So and as I say, a lot of it is around the taste profiles that are coming from our New Zealand ingredients. I've always said that the craft brewing in New Zealand is more of a movement than a market, and that's why I think it's responded so well to crowdfunding, because it's people who are excited about something different.
Still to come on the bulletin, how best to protect Tauaroa on Ariti Beach. A new investigation gives some clues. Welcome back. New Zealand saw over 20,000 more jobs advertised in 2014. That's a 10% increase on the year before. And while the bigger cities held the majority of jobs, it was the regions excelling in growth, particularly Southland. Figures released by Seek New Zealand show Southland was the highest achiever in terms of growth, up almost 32%, with construction vacancies more than doubling from 2013. Manufacturing, transport and logistics jobs were up 80%, and trades and services also experienced a solid increase of 73%. Seek said the number of applications for roles increasing just 3.6% signalled a positive year as the opportunities grew at a faster rate than applications. The Tauaroa has been under investigation with a special report commissioned into the health of the local fishery. Ariti Beach is one of only 4 beaches that sustain Tauaroa. The report was undertaken to ascertain whether traffic has an effect on juvenile recruitment. It's been suspected that vehicles may be affecting the survivability of juvenile Tauaroa, and a survey undertaken during the Burt Munro Beach race a few years ago confirmed fears.
We found that in the area of racing over about 800 metres, there was about 70,000 juvenile Tauaroa in the area, and afterwards it appeared that about 50-odd thousand had been killed by that race.
As a result, it was negotiated to have the race shifted to nearer the entrance where traffic use was already high.
We understand the value to Southland community of having these events and that, and so we want positive win-win outcomes, so the rates were shifted to have less impact.
Over the past 12 months, an in-depth investigation's been ongoing, looking at the recreational use of the beach and a vehicle counter installed under the road for that 12-month period, as well as gathering information from beach users.
We had a scientist physically visiting quite regular and talking to people and seeing where they're driving at the different stages of the tide. So it's really, really comprehensive study of the use. There was drive-over tests over juveniles to see what impact, when they deliberately drive over them. So it's very, very comprehensive. It's saying there is an impact.
Tauaroa needs specific beach conditions to survive.
Tauaroa require special characteristics. Has to be a wide, fairly flat beach, so the wave energy can run off, so they can don't get dug out too easily. The spat settles right at the top of the tide, comes in on the tide and settles up there, and it's right where most of the traffic drives. And when the spat is as it grows, and it's very small, it's just very, very shallow under the surface. As the Tauaroa grow, they migrate down the beach towards the sea, and as they grow they're deeper and in the firmer sand, so don't think those ones are too much risk.
And it's not unusual for Tauaroa beds to deplete, but they also have enormous potential to recover.
When they spawn, each one is hundreds of thousands of spat, and that's common with all shellfish because there is natural high mortality with them.
There are several parties involved in deciding what the next step is in managing and growing the Tauaroa population in the south.
They're probably up to a little bit under 1 million that are about 100 mil length, so it's nowhere, it's not even half its potential at the moment.
There are several options that could be considered to lessen impacts of population.
Maybe they don't need the whole 18 kilometres of beach to be driving on. Certainly the main use is a couple of kilometres each side of the main entrance, and then some more up the north end. Maybe access, like there's a south entrance with a car park. Maybe little areas protected that people can't drive. I don't know. I'm not making any decisions now.
But this is all up for discussion.
All up for discussion, and we just want the best outcome all around. We want to try and see if we can enhance the fishery. and be able to make better use of it, and but still realise the recreational value.
The scientist who conducted the investigation will be presenting findings to agencies involved in the coming weeks. Margot Southland, South Today News. Low river levels and a long-range rainfall forecast were the catalyst for upgrading water restrictions in Gore today. Level 3 restrictions are now in place, which means everyone, including the Gore District Council, are being asked to do their part in saving water.
District Council fleet vehicles may be looking a little worse for wear this week after a ban on washing them was introduced today. As the district's water restrictions rise, the council is setting an example by putting a ban on washing any of the 40 or so fleet vehicles. Level 3 restrictions mean there's a total ban on unattended hoses, sprinklers and garden irrigation systems. Handheld watering can be done between 7 and 9 in the evening on alternate days only. The council have also provided a number of water-saving tips, including reducing the number of times you wash clothes. Top-loader washing machines can use up to 100 litres each wash. Collect wastewater from washing or showering to water lawns and gardens. Reduce shower times to 3 minutes maximum. Use a bowl and sink to wash dishes, as well as simple savings like turning the tap off when brushing your teeth and putting the plug in when washing your hands. Southland District Council are also urging public to conserve water.
Cycling the length of the country may seem an impossible feat to some, but for one Southland man it wasn't just possible, it was necessary. Peter Caldwell was on the last leg of his tour today after cycling from Cape Reinga, making a quick stop home in Invercargill before continuing to Bluff, all in 4 weeks to raise money and awareness for diabetes. The 53-year-old was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in 2005 and has since decided to combine his love of cycling and travel to spread awareness.
I was diagnosed with type 2 about 10 years ago, and I guess for me that was like a watershed, a wake-up moment that made me realise I couldn't, take my health and various things for granted. The other thing I've realised with my Cycle South is that it's just amazing the number of people who either have had family members passed away early in life as a result of complications caused by diabetes. It's really a silent epidemic here in New Zealand, and if I have one message to people who might be watching this, it's put yourself out of harm's way, find out what your general health and various other things are, and even if you're pre-diabetic or you think you might be susceptible, do something right away to stop that happening.
Finally tonight, a severe intensity earthquake measuring a magnitude of 5.2 hit just over 100 kilometres west of Snares Island off Stewart Island this morning. The quake struck around 8:20 this morning at a depth of 5 kilometres, but was described as weak on GeoNet's regional intensity scale, which could explain why just one person reported feeling it from fielding. And that's all from us this Thursday. Stay with us for the weather and sport up next from the news team. Good night.